Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Ellen here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 3 of What If Saitama Was in MHA. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin. Midoriya stood in front of UA's entrance in awe. It was his second time being at the school, but the massive structures and beautiful architecture had him astonished. He reflected on his training with his mentor, Saitama, and readied himself. He had worked hard for this moment, and he wasn't going to let his nerves get the better of him. With a breath, Midoriya took a step forward, but a rock in the middle of the pathway had different plans. Midoriya was falling. Luckily, his reflexes were quick enough for him to catch himself with another step, but he fumbled enough steps for several people to start staring at him.
Hey, are you okay?
Midoriya looked to his right and saw a girl with short brunette hair looking at him with concern. She spoke again, saying,
I saw you stumble and wanted to see if you were okay. You look a little shaken up.
Midoriya assured the girl that he was okay. Yeah, I'm just nervous, that's all. Thanks for checking up on me. With a smile, the girl continued forward into the reception hall, and soon Midoriya followed. When he went into the reception hall, he went to his seat number and saw that it was next to Bakugo. The blonde scowled at Izuku but opted to not say anything. Once President Mike started his presentation about the practical exam, Midoriya was happy to hear that it was a physical assessment against robot AIs. He'd be able to test the physical capabilities of his body against them. After the writing portion, Midoriya found himself outside with a white line separating the examinees from the battlefield. It was designed to look like a real city, as he saw skyscrapers reach up towards the sky above him. Midoriya's excitement grew as he was ready to see what Saitama's training had done for him. Robots weren't like humans, so he'd get to go all out and unleash more of his power. A loud voice shouted,
Go, go, go! There is no countdown in a real battle!
Midoriya didn't even flinch at the voice as he jumped off and soared face first into a 2-point robot. He grit his teeth and sent his fist straight into the robot's chest. The force of the punch had caused the robot to be sent flying down the city road into several more robots. Midoriya's eyes widened as he realized that he just gathered over 10 points in one punch. He smiled. His speed was unmatched even by the boy with literal engines for legs. He seemingly flew across the ground, disintegrating each villain with nothing but a single punch. He didn't waste a single second as he was constantly punching and kicking robot after robot. He was gathering points so fast and so multitudinous that the UA staff were speechless. The exam practitioners had to unleash more robot villains into the training ground Midoriya was in. He was single-handedly eliminating so many robots that the other students struggled to find any and gather points. People in his training ground were scared that they wouldn't even have a chance to make it into UA if this green blur kept destroying all the robots. Midoriya was unable to keep count of his score. The only thing going through his mind was to destroy more robots. He was so focused on gathering points that he wasn't paying attention to the city structures. He would send robots flying into buildings and create cracks in the floor whenever he jumped. After he pounded a 3-pointer's head into the pavement, it created a crack that shook the ground around him. But then the ground shook again, then again. Midoriya looked towards the source of the rumbling and saw the giant 0-point robot that President Mike had discussed in the presentation. It loomed over the skyscrapers and peered down at the examinees. The robot wasn't worth any points, so it was wiser for Midoriya to just ignore it. That was until he heard a scream.
Help!
Midoriya looked back and saw the face of the girl that talked to him that morning. She was trapped underneath rubble and was in the direct path of the robot. He couldn't let her get crushed. He rushed to her side in a flash. With one arm, he lifted all the rubble off of her as the other one lifted her back onto her feet. Midoriya needed to take this 0-pointer out before it hurt any more students. Midoriya saw that there were no students behind the 0-pointer, as they had all run clear out of its range. He knew that he could unleash more force behind his next punch. He told the girl to run, and she complied. The robot took another step forward, and a huge grin appeared on Izuku's face. A crater exploded underneath him as he jumped high into the air toward the 0-pointer's head. Cracks in the concrete formed and raced with the students that were running away. Wind pressure roared behind him, sending gusts of wind and props flying throughout the city. He was being propelled so fast towards the villain that he was just a small green blur. Midoriya pulled his arm back and yelled,
Serious punch!
As his fist collided with the villain's face. The sleeve on his arm immediately blasted apart from the power behind the punch. The villain's head combusted on impact, and the force spread throughout the rest of its body. A flash of white, followed by red, orange, and yellow, filled the view of the onlooking students. A roar from the explosion made the students' ears ring. Wind erupted from the force of the punch and plowed through the robots and the city behind it. Buildings crumbled apart and towers toppled over each other like dominoes. Rubble from the demolition flew across the training fields at UA, raining down like meteors across the various training areas. From the rubble alone, he destroyed dozens more robots outside of his training area, not to mention all the robots that were behind the Zero-Pointer in the battlefield. Stray parts from the Zero-Pointer rained among students, all too shocked to continue gathering points, instead too hypnotized by the scene to move. Every part of the giant robot was now reduced to nothing but ash and stray parts. The city behind the Zero-Pointer was nothing but reduced to a flat landscape. Feeling high on adrenaline, Midoriya felt unfulfilled. All that giant robot took was a single punch? This is the top hero school in the country, and that was all they could offer?
Is that all you got, UA? Give me more!
Midoriya roared, angry and unsatisfied. Before we get back to the video, I'd like to talk about our new channel, Celestia, our channel dedicated to all things Dungeons & Dragons. Currently, we have a series breaking down the different spells in D&D, and soon we'll be starting some new series as well. So if you're a fan of D&D or have an interest in learning about it, check it out. Additionally, if there is something you've always wanted to see get made into a video, head over there and leave a comment mentioning it. The students were nothing short of horrified by the pure power this one plain-looking kid had. An air horn went off that signaled the end of the exam, which brought Izuku back down to reality. He felt his adrenaline die down, and then a realization dawned on him. This is what Saitama was always telling Midoriya about. Whenever Saitama would talk about how boring it was to always defeat villains with a single punch, Midoriya never understood. He would have given anything to be able to defeat evil with a single punch. He would save millions and defeat villainy forever. But here he was among the destruction of the city, feeling strangely empty. Akasha's voice brought him out of his thoughts.
Thank you for saving me,
she said hesitantly, like she was afraid of him. Midoriya then remembered what he did all the training for. He did it for people like her. He did it so that he could be a hero who saves people with a smile on his face. It didn't matter if he felt unfulfilled from his fights, because that isn't what heroism is about. He felt his heart fill with fulfillment from his actions as he heard the gratitude from the girl. He took a deep breath, and he smiled as he brought out his hand to the girl he saved. A moment passed before she reluctantly grabbed his hand back. My name is Izuku Midoriya. What's yours? In the spectators area where all the UA teachers were watching, they were, for lack of a better word, losing their shit over the freak of nature that is Izuku Midoriya. There was one teacher in there, however, that had his eye on the student for a different reason. The teacher coughed and clutched his side. That boy, the teacher thought. He might be the one. A couple of weeks later, Midoriya received a letter from UA. He sat in the living room with his mother next to him as he shakily opened the envelope. A hologram disc fell out, and the Midoriyas felt more anticipation build up within them. They pressed play, and their hearts almost stopped when the image of All Might appeared in the hologram. Congratulations, Izuku Midoriya! On behalf of UA High, I'd like to congratulate you on your acceptance into Class 1A's Hero Course. Unfortunately, we were unable to count how many points you have gathered due to various circumstances during the testing period, but it was undeniably more than any other student during the exam. I want to stress that this score is beyond the capabilities of many heroes today, so you should be immensely proud. There was another factor in the exam as well. You earned points by saving others, so the team of exam practitioners awarded you 50 hero points. Congratulations again, and I'll be seeing you next semester as your foundational hero studies teacher. The mother and son sat for a moment, stunned. Then Midoriya was enveloped in a strong hug as his mother cried tears of joy. Soon Midoriya couldn't hold his tears back as he cried alongside her. Tearfully, his mother said, I said something awful to you. I've always regretted that. Back then, I just gave up on you. But you never quit, Izuku. You kept chasing your dreams. I'm sorry, Izuku. So now I'll be cheering you on with everything I've got. Midoriya forgave her and felt a sense of closure. She had allowed him to train every morning with Saitama, so he felt that she always had a sense of hope within him. Now all his work had paid off. Later, Midoriya met up with Saitama at the beach as they celebrated the good news with a 50-kilometer run. You know, now that I'm going to be a hero, I can't shadow you as a vigilante anymore. Saitama responded neutrally, saying, I'm going to get my hero license soon. I've been going to adult classes, but all the tests are boring. I met this nice guy named Genos, though. You would like him. The two ran well over 50 kilometers, but they were too engrossed in their conversation to end it. The next day, Izuku and Bakugo saw each other again when they had to go to their middle school to receive their transcripts. Bakugo was seething, but kept it contained while their teachers searched the records. Outside, however, the explosive blonde was unable to keep his anger in check.
What the hell did you do, Deku?
Bakugo demanded, holding out his hand as small explosions sparked in his palm.
I was supposed to be the only one from the shitty school to get into UA. Tell me, how did you get in? And how did you beat me in the entrance exam?
Midoriya didn't back down from Bakugo's intimidation. He stood his ground and smacked the blonde's hand away from him. The act of defiance caused Bakugo to send an explosion towards the smaller teen's head, but his attack was stopped when Midoriya grabbed Bakugo's wrist. The blonde attempted to break free from the other's grasp, but Midoriya only tightened his grip, causing Bakugo to wince in pain.
I got into UA through hard work, Kacchan,
Midoriya stated seriously, looking down at the blonde. All I wanted was to be a hero, but people like you always put me down. I always thought that you and your quirk were always amazing. But I'm done with the way you treat me. I'm quirkless and I was able to get in, so stop treating me like I can't do anything because of it. Midoriya maintained eye contact with Bakugo as he said this, not letting his resolve weaken. After a moment passed, Bakugo averted his gaze and Midoriya released his wrist. Midoriya walked away from the teen without another word. Despite all the heroes that Midoriya had to overcome, he was finally at the finish line. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a kid, and now it was a reality. He was standing at the door of Class 1A. With a deep breath, he entered the room. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope that you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.